guys, welcome back to my channel. So I literally just finished ending the other video that I did, and I told you guys that I was about to do a Domino's mukbang because I'm fucking starving, and I've been wanting to tell you guys this story. You guys always I always talk about places that I've worked at, and I feel like when I say like, oh yeah, I used to work here, like it makes it sound like I've worked at hella places. I haven't worked at that many places, but I do have like a lot of story times of the places that I have worked at. Domino's was my first one. Actually, I started under the table at another job, and then Domino's was my first like real job, and I stayed at Domino's the longest. I think I stayed at Domino's for like 3 years, so it definitely was my favorite job out of all of them. I always remember memories from working here. I'll never forget. So I am at the store that I've told you guys that I was a general manager. I ended up becoming a general manager. I went from being just a customer service rep to a general manager, and they actually gave me my own store. So when you become a general manager, like you manage your own store, and I ended up getting one of the smallest stores because I was a new manager, but honestly, this was the best store ever. I liked that it was small, and I'm about to show you guys. I'm gonna try to record when I go in there. I just need to order my food because I haven't even ordered it, and I'm trying to like eat already, and I haven't even ordered it, and I'm already here. So hold on, let me order my food and then I'll come back. All right, you guys, I finally got my food, and I'm sitting on a hill like this, so that's why the camera's hella like that, but I'm starving. And I got my usual, my chicken bacon ranch sandwich, and I ended up getting pizza this time because my favorite pizza is chicken and jalapeno. Oh yes, and I ended up getting it on a thin crust this time because thin crust is my favorite, but Trippy never wants to get it, so I was like, let me get it right now that I'm by myself. Let me know if you guys are like that when you're not with your boyfriend. You're like, let me get this because he doesn't ever want to get it. All right, cheers. I'm gonna go in before I even start talking because I'm so hungry. That jalapeno's hidden. Oh my gosh. If you guys have not tried thin crust, 10 out of 10 recommend. It's crunchy and it just tastes hella better. I'm about to go in on this pizza, you guys. I don't even know. Got some water. All right, so I've had a lot of jobs. I'm gonna do more story times on that though. I don't really want to like talk about that because then I could just be talking forever. So Domino's, I started when I was in high school. Actually, I didn't even go to my graduation, you guys, because I was working. My mom went to go pick up my diploma. I used to work a lot. Like when I first started working, I would work whenever, you know, like my dad always taught me to like be a hard worker, and like whenever they need you to come in, you always say yes, like you never say no, you know, like things like that, you know. So I was always working, you guys. Like I would work every day. Like I remember for a point in time, like I didn't have a day off. I was just working every single day. So yeah, I started at Domino's as a customer service rep, which basically I was the one making the pizzas because that was my favorite thing to do. So yes, I could whip a pizza up. I can actually stretch a pizza pretty fast. I can toss it a little bit. I'm not that good. I was like barely learning. But yeah, I can make a pizza. That was my job when I worked there, and I was the opener. So I would go in, before anybody else. The opener opens by themselves. So I was in high school and I would open the store by myself, and I worked in like, if you guys are from the city, then y'all know I worked in the Tenderloin. I worked on Eddy and Larkin, so that's like the middle of like the Tenderloin. And if y'all don't know what the Tenderloin is, it's basically a neighborhood where there's nothing but homeless, nothing but crackheads, nothing but prostitutes, like all of that. It's like we call it the jungle because it's another like world in that neighborhood. Like you just see people shooting up on the street, like everywhere, prostitutes everywhere, like it's crazy. So I used to work there, and that was just crazy. Like I would literally see stuff every day. I saw 2 prostitutes. Well, one of them came into my store one time, and I was by myself because when I opened, I would be by myself until like 12. That was when my manager would come, well, the assistant manager would come in and help me. So I would be by myself. I would open the store and be by myself. And one day this girl came in, and I knew she was a prostitute, but I was like, whatever, you know, I don't care. She's buying food. She wanted some wings. I hella remember she wanted barbecue wings, and I was like, all right. So she paid. I started making her food, and while it was in the oven, it takes about like, I think it's in the oven for like 6 minutes. While it was in the oven, somebody came into the store and started hitting her with their purse, like whacking her. And then she got up. Well, honestly, they were both transgender, like they were men like dressed like women, so they were like going at it, hitting each other with their purses. And the lady that was inside that had bought the wings, she started running, like she was scared of this person that came in and started smacking her. And I'm like, oh shit, I thought they were gonna start fighting in the store because I didn't know what to do. I was by myself, none of the drivers were there, like I was literally by myself. And I was like, oh shit. And luckily she ran out of the store, so like the fight went outside, you know. And then the person's chasing her, like smacking her with the purse. And I was like, oh shit, your wings, you know. So her wings came out, and I remember putting them in the thing, and all day I kept her wings there. Like I kept telling my manager, like, no, she's gonna come back for her wings, like she paid for them, I know she wants them. And she never came back for her freaking wings, you guys. And that was one of like a million stories like that. Like I would always constantly get people like that, and that's basically what it was like working there. But I mean, working in that store, and well, I guess in that neighborhood, sorry, I'm not even like saying that clear, but working in the store was fun. So when I started, oh my god, the crew was so dope. Like everyone was young, like we were all around the same age, everyone smoked, and it was lit, you guys. Like I remember I would love going to work. Like it felt like I was going to school. Like I would go and we would all just be chilling, listening to music, stretching pizzas. Like because the store that I worked at was the busiest store, and it's the busiest store in the city. Like we would have to make sometimes 100 pizzas per order because we're right by downtown. So we would have to like cater hella, like, you know, company parties and things like that. So we would always be stretching pizza, and we would have a make line. So I would either be the first one stretching and then passing the stretched pizzas to get sauced and cheesed, and then we would have someone else putting all the toppings. And like all 4 of us, sometimes it would be 4 of us, and we would just be like going off. It would just be so much fun. I loved it. I loved the environment. I loved everyone that I worked with. Everyone was so chill, so cool. And I was basically doing that for about 2 years. And during that time, I started working at 2 Dominos. I was working at the one downtown, and then right after I got off that, because I told you guys I would open, I would go to another store. It was only like a few blocks away, and I couldn't be able to close because they would be like, nah, you're doing too much. And I was a girl, I could only stay until 10. So I would work until 3 at the other spot, or 4, and then I would start at 4:30 to 10 at the other Domino's. So I would literally be working at Domino's all day. I would go from one location to another, and I was working every day. And then after a while, I think I ended up getting a job somewhere else at 24 Hour Fitness, and I decided to leave Domino's for that job. And I'll tell you guys about 24 Hour Fitness, but long story short, I got a call one day from my old manager, and he was like, hey, I'm the supervisor now. And he was like, you know, we're looking for managers, and you know, you worked for us for hella long, and you were like a good worker, and you pretty much know everything. And he was like, would you want your own store? And I was like, what? I hadn't worked at Domino's in a minute, you guys. All of a sudden I'm getting asked if I want my own store. So I remember being like, what? And he was like, yeah, like it'll be your store. You can hire your whoever you want as your assistant manager. Like he was basically gassing me up, like you'll hire and fire whoever you want, you'll make the schedules, like all of it, right? So I remember being like, all right, but I'll only do it if Jennifer is my assistant manager. And Jennifer used to work at Domino's too, but we never worked at the same location. If you guys don't know who Jennifer is, she's my best friend. So when I told him that, he was like, for real? Like both of you guys are gonna be at the same store? We're like, yeah, she's gonna be my assistant manager. So he's a real one. He ends up getting Jennifer to be my assistant manager, and it all happened so fast. Like he was like, all right, well, you start tomorrow. So he was like, come by the store. He's like, come meet your workers and introduce yourself as the new manager, you know, like they all want to know you and things. And I remember I was like, I was only like, by the time that I was a manager, I had already graduated high school. I was in college. I was going to City College at the time. And I think I was like 20 or about to be 21. Yeah, I wasn't even 21 yet. And I was a manager. So I remember going the next day and seeing everyone in my store. I was literally the youngest one. Like everyone was older than me, especially the drivers. Like the drivers at Domino's, their ages are like, they're older men usually, like 30s, 40s, sometimes older. So I remember when I walked there, everybody's just looking at me like, what, this is our manager? Like I felt like I looked like a little girl. And so I was like, hey, like, you know, my name's Karen, whatever. And I remember being hella nervous, right? So he was like, all right. I went, I did that, and then he was like, okay, you're gonna start working the next day. Like that day I was just upstairs, like learning how to do everything, basically, like learning how to do the schedules, learning how to do everything. But so that was just my first day. So the second day that I actually started, I started to realize that a lot of the workers didn't like that I was the manager. Because they started calling off. So 4th of July came, and literally nobody showed up to their fucking shift. And I was the manager. I'm over here calling my supervisor like, no one's fucking coming, like what the fuck? And he was like, well, you're the manager, like you need to stay and you need to hold it down. And that was my first experience, like being so like, oh my god, I was so stressed out. It was just me and Jennifer doing everything. We were getting so many orders, but we did it. That night we killed that shit. It was just me and her, and we fucking did that shit. I think somebody came and helped us, I'm not sure, but from what I remember, it was just me and her knocking shit out. And I ended up having to fire people from my job because you know, like I just thought that that was disrespectful for like people to do, because they didn't tell me that they weren't coming. And like I feel so like, oh my god, I'm a manager, you know, like, and the supervisor told me like, if you let them do that, like they're just gonna be doing that all the time, you know. you're just giving them a chance to walk all over you. Like, I had to establish, like, make a name for myself in the store. So I fired them. I fired, I think, 3 people. And I've never fired anybody. And he was like, you want to be the one to do it? Like, my supervisor was hella funny. He was hella cool with me, and he was like, you could do it. Like, you could fire somebody. And I was like, fuck, I didn't want to, but I kind of did, because I was like, I do kind of want that, like, to say like I fired somebody. So yeah, I remember telling him like, yeah, like, it's not gonna work out, you know. I remember telling him, I don't know exactly how it went, but I just remember telling him that it wasn't gonna work out and he was gonna be put off the schedule, and I wish him the best in his future endeavors. And same thing with the other guy. And I ended up keeping one of the, because they were 3 friends, okay? They were always stick together. I ended up keeping one of them. And I ended up hiring new people, which that was when I tried to hire Trippy. Trippy will vouch for this. I tried to get him to work for me so bad. I was like, come work with us, like, it's so much fun, because I was the chillest manager. Like, I would not be on your ass as long as you were doing your shit. I would always try to take care of my employees, give them food, buy them ice cream when it was hella hot, you know, things like that. Little story time though. I remember one time, because I'm telling you guys, I was going to City College when I was working, so I had an opener. He was my opener. He was my loyal opener. Like, I would always schedule him to open. He would always be there. I remember one day I'm in class, you guys, and I'm getting blown up by him, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm in class. So I get out of class and I'm like, what happened? He's like, the drivers are fighting. And I was like, what do you mean they're fighting? He's like, they're arguing about who wants to take what order. Like, this guy doesn't want to take the order. I keep telling him to take it, and they're arguing. So I was like, what the fuck? All right, I'm about to be there. So I leave my class, you guys, and like, luckily my teacher was hella cool too, because I had told her like I'm a manager, so there's sometimes where like I had to leave, you know. So that was one of those days. I grab my stuff and I leave. I go to my store. Like, the thing about a store is like, that represents me, you know, like, I'm the manager. So whenever people see that, they're gonna be like, I want to talk to the manager. And I would have a lot of those times. So I was so mad. I took them upstairs and I told, there's no, oh, you can pick and choose what order you want to take, because some people knew who wouldn't tip. And that's another thing you guys gotta think about. If you're not tippers, they be knowing who you are. And they were arguing about not wanting to take that order. I remember I was so mad at them, and they felt so bad after. Like, they were like, we don't want to get you mad, boss, like, I'm sorry. And like, they were cool, and I love those drivers. That was one thing that happened during the during the time that I worked there. I remember me and Jennifer, we had a close together for a long time, and we would always take breaks. So I would tell her, like, you go out first, go smoke half the joint, leave it in my car, and then you come back in, and then I'll go back. Then I'll go into my car and I'll finish it. And then we'll come back and we'll be good. And that's what we would do. That's how we would get by on our shifts. Luckily, no one would ever snitch. They knew that we were smoking, because they would always be like, you know, like, they could smell it, but no one would ever say anything. And on top of that, I was cool. Like, I was a cool manager. I remember, like, this is how cool I was with my employees. Like, every week I would make a schedule. I would contact everybody. I would be like, hey, I'm making the schedule. Does anybody want a certain day off? Like, you want Wednesday off, or you want Friday off, or something, you know? I would always ask them, because I just wanted everyone to be happy and like, you know, working hours that they wanted to work and wanting to be at the shift. And they all loved that. They all respected that. And I remember one time I had to get my store ready for inspection, and this was like the most stressful day of my life, you guys. And this day I will never forget. I had to clean my whole store, and luckily my store wasn't that big, but it was dirty as fuck. Like the person that had it before didn't really do anything to the store. So I was reorganizing everything. I even want to go buy paint, and I stayed. First off, I degreased all the walls, which that took hella long. I was sweating, okay? And I couldn't start cleaning until I closed the store. So I think we started cleaning at around 12 that night. I think I closed at midnight that day. And I was there until what, like 1:30, and the drivers were like just doing all the closing things. So once it was time for them to leave, they were like, oh, like we're leaving now. And I was there by myself, and I was like, okay. And I started getting the paint out, and they were like, what are you gonna do? And I was like, oh, I need to paint all these walls. Like they're hella yellow, and I didn't like that. Like I wanted them to come in and see white walls. And they were like, you're gonna paint the whole store? And I was like, yeah. And two of my drivers fucked with me so much. They just liked who I was, or like, you know, maybe they felt bad, I'm not sure, but they were like, we'll stay and we'll help you. And we literally painted the whole store, and we were done at 3 o'clock in the morning, you guys. And I remember us walking out of the store like at 3 a.m. like, damn, like I can't believe we did that. I couldn't believe that they helped me do that. Like they stayed, and I ended up, like, they weren't getting paid, but I ended up giving them extra hours throughout the week, to like, I would clock them in early basically, like on some days, you know, because I was like, they came through for me, so I wanted to make sure that they got their time paid for, you know, the time that they put in, because they didn't have to do that. And I also bought them lunch the next day, because I was like, dude, I was so grateful for them. I ended up passing my inspection. I did so good. I was so proud of myself, so happy. All my supervisors were like, what? I remember getting a bonus, my first check. Like, I remember just doing so good, and I was loving it, honestly. The only thing that was stressful for me was like placing the food orders, because I would always place either too much or too little, and I wouldn't have enough toppings, and I would have to go to other stores and pick up food, or I would have too much food and I would be trying to like get rid of it before it expired. So that was pretty much like how it was working there. I feel like I probably would have stayed there a little bit longer if I wasn't in school while I was a manager, because being a manager took up all my time, literally. Like, you're always working when you're a manager, because I would have people call me at night, we're missing this, we need that, this just happened, what do we do? In the morning, this person didn't show up, this person's late, this person hasn't opened the store yet, this person didn't take out the dough, and things like that. And then on top of that, I had to worry about getting my essays, 5-page essays turned in, reading 20 pages a night, and getting ready for my test. And it was just so stressful. Like, I can't believe that I did it. I think I did it for like, honestly, like 4 months. But it was stressful and it was fun at the same time. I learned so much. I got to meet so many cool people. I would never forget anybody that I ever worked with in that store. And I admire them so much for like bringing me in and respecting me and letting me, like, you know, like do my job. And I feel like I did my job really well. if you guys are a manager, you guys ever get the opportunity to be a manager, put yourself in the positions as the employees. Like, I feel like for me, it was a little bit easier for me to make the transition because I was already a customer service rep. I already knew what it was like to have a shitty manager and what it was like to have a cool manager. And I always knew I wanted to be that cool manager where everyone is happy, because it's a better environment when you work like that than when you come in, you're like, fuck, I don't even like this person, you know? And yeah, it was just a life-changing experience. Honestly, I will never forget working there, having my own store, painting my own store until 3 in the morning, buying food for it, and just everything was just so crazy, and I'll never forget it. I met a lot of cool people. I met Perla, one of my good friends, working there as well. She was a driver when I worked there. Like, people that I still haven't lost connections with, you know? And that tells you a lot. Like, you meet so many people that you like worked with and then you like never talk to them again, but the people that you stay in contact with always have a special place in my heart, and like, you know, they make an impact in my life. And I just can't believe Domino's did that for me. And if you guys are looking for a part-time job, something easy, not stressful, definitely look into Domino's. They're a good company to work for. Never had any problems. They were always super flexible with my schedule. Ended up making me a manager. And yeah, I loved it. And that was pretty much my Domino's story time. I feel like there's more stories that go into that because I was there for so long. So much stuff happened, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys a breakdown of like what it was like for me to work there, to have my own store, and to hire and fire and, you know, do interviews and things like that. Like that, I have never done that. It's so crazy. I've always been on the other side of the end, you know, like where I'm getting interviewed or I'm getting hired and things like that. But I've never been the person to like decide and things like that. So that was crazy. I hope you guys enjoyed this little story time. I know it was all over the place. I didn't write any notes for this. I was just going off the top of my head from what I remember and things like that. And like stories would come to me and I just want to tell you guys. So yeah, let me know if you guys want more story times about other places I've worked at. I used to work at I worked at Domino's. I used to work at a Mexican restaurant, under the table. 24-hour fitness. Papalote. And then after that, I started in the cannabis industry. So yeah, let me know if you guys want any story times on that. I'm gonna finish my food because like I said, when I talk and eat, look, I still have a whole half sandwich and I still have hella pizza. So I'm about to just go in on my food. Try this out if you guys haven't tried it. Chicken and jalapeno on a thin crust. Bet you guys are gonna fall in love. Chicken bacon ranch sandwich, also my favorite. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good week. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Close into my dream.